Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, February 3rd. Welcome to KHM Today. And what a fantastic day it is. Do you guys like my new background? So we have been going through backgrounds and comments and suggestions. And last week I had my bookshelf and I got lots of positive feedback. And then one agent, one of my favorites, Andrea Miner, who's based in Denver, said, I loved your background, but I'm going to come over and I am going to organize your books by color. So she came over and did a little home edit. And so there's the final product. So I hope you guys like it. It's not my skill set at all to organize and things like that. But she helped me. So thank you, Andrea, for helping me create a background that is visually appealing to all. So what a gift she has. So Puxatani Phil said yesterday, we've got 6 more weeks of winter, but don't be sad because we have a lot in store for the next 6 weeks for you on KHM Today. Our themes for this month are love and positivity, romance. And so to go along with those themes, of course, you have the ability to fill out the 2020 KHM census. So make sure that you're doing that. If you haven't had a chance to watch the new video that was just posted through the eyes of travel agents, please make sure you do it. It's incredibly uplifting, it's beautiful, and just speaks to the heart of what we've all been going through this last 11 months. So take a look at that. And then finally, don't forget to brush off your sparkly gowns because the agent awards will be February 15th. So get those tuxes and those evening gowns ready for a fun afternoon. So much love and positivity to spread. Let's get the show started with the headlines. Chantel is taking some much deserved time off this week. And so Virginia is here to give us the latest and greatest. Welcome, Virginia.
Thank you, Carolyn. Do you like my new background?
I do.
This is travel through the years. And welcome, KHM agents. Chantel, if you're with us, I hope I can do these news headlines as well as you do. I've got some breaking news and then just some other news about U.S. destinations. In a surprise move yesterday, the French government closed the borders for many of its overseas territories, including islands in the Caribbean and the South Pacific. The indefinite border closure takes effect today, February 3rd. The islands affected include St. Bart's, St. Martin, Martinique, Guadeloupe, Tahiti, and Bora Bora. Visitors currently in the islands should be able to leave on their return flights home, but details are not available at this time. If you have clients in any of these destinations, please reach out to your tour operator for assistance and more information. Carolyn, I was not able to find any information about how the Dutch side of St. Martin is going to handle this French border closure. I think that the officials on all these islands were caught by surprise, and we're just going to have to continue to follow this story for further developments.
Thank you.
And next, the new Resorts World Las Vegas is making a big splash on the Vegas Strip this summer with the opening of 3 premier Hilton hotel brands, a Hilton, a Conrad, and Crockford's Las Vegas, Hilton's second LXR brand hotel to open in the U.S. In addition to the casino, there will be exciting nightlife, globally inspired cuisine and mixology, star-studded performances in a 5,000-seat theater, 9 pool experiences, a world-class spa, and an exclusive collection of boutiques. Now, this sounds like girls' trip. When are we going to be ready to go? Resorts World Las Vegas is on the site previously occupied by the Stardust Resort and Casino. And next up, Kontiki Vacations, who specializes in travel for 18 to 35-year-olds, has launched new itineraries for U.S. national parks. The trips include glamping in under canvas tents, barbecue feast, hiking adventures, wildlife viewing, and private tours by local experts. The national park trips join Contiki's 30 U.S. itineraries that include tours such as Boot Scootin' Blues, Southern Soul, LA to the Bay, Pacific Northwest Trail, and the Best of the USA. For more information about these Contiki itineraries, you can visit contiki.com. And last but not least, research from Taiwan shows tannins in wine can help fight COVID-19 by effectively inhibiting the activity of two key enzymes within the virus. The study leader believes that the consumption of adequate food and drinks with tannins is a way to boost your immunity to the virus. In addition to wine, tannins can be found in bananas, grapes, blueberries, black tea, chocolate, and some vegetables. The study was conducted to identify natural compounds that may affect the virus, so these compounds can be used to develop drugs for future treatments. And there you have it, Carolyn, just in time for Valentine's Day. A good reason to drink more wine and eat more chocolate.
You don't have to tell me twice. I was starting to wonder why I've been so healthy the last 11 months, and I think we have our answer right there. Thank you so much for those. I'm telling you, those Contiki tours actually sound fun, and you know I'm not much of a tour person when it comes to groups, but those actually sound really, really fun. It sounds like they've been listening to what people are looking for.
Yes, and please go on their website and check out some of the other tours. I just listed a few. Some of them, I mean, I was clicking and looking at, okay, where all do they go and how are they doing this? Because they sound really interesting and they're from coast to coast.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great job filling in. All right, you guys. Our next guest is, I'm super excited to welcome. So if we can have Bill Coyle, who of course you all know, and Jacob Coyle is here with us as well from Mixmax down in Florida. Bill, I'm going to let you introduce Jacob.
Thank you, Carolyn. And great job, Virginia. You were fantastic today. And Carolyn, I love the new background. The bricks are just fantastic. It's perfect for this time of the year, right? Nice colors. So yeah, I'm super excited as well, Carolyn. I have the pleasure of having such a great family. And I'm number 5 of number 8. And my second brother had 2 fantastic boys. This is the second boy. His name was Jacob Coyle. Jake is his name. I'll tell you that he is a terror. We certainly had an interesting life with this kid growing up. He is very energetic and positive and always just caring and loving. So I thought when I spoke to him last year in his role as one of the top marine sales, one of the top boat salesmen in the country, in particular in Florida, where he now lives with his fabulous 3 children and beautiful wife, I thought this guy has something. He has like the secret sauce. Like he's got something going on that I would love for our agents to hear, right? How can he give a message to them that inspires them, gives them a regular routine? And then Carol and I had this call with him last week, and the 2 of us were inspired by it. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable, his impact on just that conversation. And I'm just hoping that he can deliver a message to you guys today that's going to help you sort of get through this time. And it's not just about this time, it's about running your business and having a relationship with your clients and potential new clients. So Jake, thanks a lot for being with us. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Carolyn and Uncle Bill. Very excited to be here and help out and share some of the successes, obstacles, and just how we got, I say we because my business is a group effort, how we got to where we are and how we're going to continue to forge forward through the times ahead, whether they're good or bad times.
And Jake, before we get started with the questions, I kind of wanted to ask you something a little off the cuff. I know that when you were young, your dad loved fishing, boating. Uncle Hugh boated, Grandpa boated. Did you start this desire for boating like from an extreme young age? I mean, you were always water sport oriented, but is boating a big passion of yours? And do you incorporate that into your role as a salesman?
Yeah, great question. And the short answer is yes. The little bit longer answer is it is definitely a passion that I have. I've been, boating almost my whole life. Summers were all boating, winters were all playing hockey up north in Cleveland. So those are the two main things that I did. And when I say that I use that every day in my career and in my personal life, absolutely. It comes natural because it is a passion that I do have. I definitely think that having a passion for something, especially for me in the boating world, my wife and I have had several boats. We're constantly getting different boats because our family's wants, needs are changing rapidly. So I definitely think the passion for the boating and that lifestyle is definitely something that I translate into what I do every day in my career. And I think it shows in just the whole experiences, both that my family gets to experience as well as my clients and then my colleagues in my business.
So
Awesome.
Jacob, we are both in industries that rely on our clients' discretionary income, but our sales tactics from our conversation are almost identical. So you spoke to us about a very specific process that you go through every day that starts with what you do when you get up in the morning and translates really into your entire day and how you structure it. Can you share with the agents what that looks like to you and why it's so important to have that structure?
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that structure is organization, and organization is one of those things that's always evolving. And no matter how good you are at it, there's always ways to improve at it. There's always new things that come out that help you constantly improve with your organization. One of the most important things that I have and that I would say that you would need to have is you have to have a purpose, both a personal purpose in your life as well as a business purpose. And this is something that, for me, I sit down with my wife once a quarter. We go over, hey, here's kind of our 5-year dream sheet. Here's the vacations we want to go on. Here's what we want to accumulate. Here's this, that. And then we have a game plan of how to get to it. And then what I do is from the personal purpose, I take that and translate it into a business purpose. So these are the things that we'd like to do. How do we do that through the business side of things? And then we start every day. First thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I read my purpose. I actually have I have a laminated sheet of paper that's, front and back. It's got my purpose on it. It's got my 10 core values that I made up myself. It's got my business plan. It's got a variety of different things on it. But one of the things that you do is you segment. For me, I segment my day in 30-minute increments. So every morning, right, I block off from, let's say I wake up at 5:30 on a Monday. Right, so 5:30 to 6 is I'm doing my magic key, my getting my mind in the mental state, the purpose, so to speak, is getting implemented into me. And then from, I don't know, 6 to 6:30, I'm feeding my kids or whatever it is. You're blocking off your time in increments. And what you do is when blocking off your time, you set time for your prospecting, you set time for your customer service calls, you set time for, I'm going to eat lunch at this time. So you block your whole day from the minute you wake up till the minute you go to bed is blocked off in 30-minute increments. And it's interesting because that doesn't mean that you have slots. That doesn't mean that you have everything in those times. You may have 3 hours of blank time. And that blank time can be interchanged anywhere, because if someone calls me at 5 o'clock in the morning, or a customer does, well, there goes whatever I had at 5 in the morning, right? I have to move that into a different slot. When you work in 30-minute increments, it helps you, it's easy to move things around as needed as your day unfolds. So you're never like, oh, I didn't get to this, because you left enough time somewhere in the day for the things that were thrown at you that you didn't expect.
I love that. And anyone that knows me knows I love a good schedule, and I try and keep to it. Just for peace of mind, but also control. You know, if you get up in the morning and the first thing you do is check Facebook, you can end up absorbed in Facebook and those emails and those final payments and all those things just get pushed back, and it can end up making for somewhat of a chaotic day, I think. You have spoken a lot about, well, sorry, we originally titled this segment kind of I'm Your Guy, right? And you've become this point of contact, and you've done everything you can to reach out to those clients. You're emailing, you're calling. What's the purpose behind so many touches, and how does that translate into the quote, becoming your boat guy?
Yep. Yeah. So there's a, what I would encourage everyone to do is do the research in your industry. So a certain amount of what we would call touches are going to lead to a sale. And depending on, your industry may depend on the different number of touches. The key is you want to be making the qualified touches, and you want, if you've booked a trip with someone, you want that person to know that you're their travel guy. Or if I sell a boat, I need to let them know, hey, I'm your boat guy. When I first started the business, I was Jacob the hockey player. And the first thing I did was say, no, I need to become Jacob the boat guy. And so what you do is you just continue to touch those people. Someone, for example, someone buys a boat, right? Or if you sell someone travel, the easiest way to generate more business from them is to call them and ask them for referrals. And you do that by continuing to reach out to them and call on your sold clients. Before you know it, their friend's going to go, hey, who's your boat guy? Oh, it's Jacob. Here's his number. So the taking ownership in what you do and understanding that, hey, I'm Jacob the boat guy, or Uncle Bill the travel guy. I can't tell you how many times over the years I've called him, even though he whatever I called him for might not have been his thing, but it was a travel question. It didn't matter what it was. He was the go-to guy. So what you want to make sure you're making the right touches. And when we say touches, you want to make sure, again, goes back to the purpose and the schedule. You schedule your emails, you schedule your prospecting, you schedule your times that you're going to make the phone calls. You schedule out the time in your day to make the necessary touches. And before you know it, everyone's going to be like, oh, this is Jacob the boat guy calling me again. He calls me every third Thursday of every month, or whatever that is. And what you'll see is a lot more referral business coming in from that.
So there's a consistent, sorry, Carolyn, I'm intrigued by this process because there's a consistent reach out, touch from you to these clients. You have a great database, I assume, that you're constantly reaching out to them, or how many are you sending out? What is the magic number, and how many touches does it take? And being the boat guy is one thing, right? And it seems like you've got great products to deliver to them, but then how's that comfort level of them saying to their friend at whatever level they're at, yeah, Jake's my guy. And then all of a sudden you're reaching out to them.
Yep. So the number of touches, right? So the cardinal rule of thumb is every 100 touches you get a sale. That's when I started in the business. Now I'm at I hover around that 55 to 65 touches gets me a sale. So I know that if I touch 65 people, I'm getting a sale. Now, the interesting thing is I may get a sale from someone who's not in the 65 people that I touched. It could be someone out of the blue. The key is that you're doing the touches. You have a system that you're creating that you set up, and you can start it very, very basic, and then it will evolve and expand over the years. But the key is that you're doing the touches, and you'll find that sometimes it may make, when I first started, maybe it was 120 touches. Well, then I realized, okay, I need to change my script, right? If it's taken me more than 100 touches, what's the script? Am I saying the right things? Am I not saying the right things? As far as the database, Uncle Bill, it's interesting because I started in my position with zero database. So one of the things I learned was one thing I do every day is I take 15 minutes and learn about my industry. Well, one of the things I learned early on in my industry is that the average boat owner owns 5 boats in their life, and also the average boat owner is good for at least 3 referrals. So if I sell a boat to you, Uncle Bill, I'm not done with you until you give me 3 referrals. I'm going to work you just as you were, even though you bought a boat, just as if until I get my 3 referrals. And one of the unique things is I didn't do this at the beginning, but I evolved into this. I let my clients know, if you buy a boat from me, hey, Carolyn, I'm just letting you know I'm going to be reaching out to you once a month, checking in, but I'd also appreciate any referrals, and I'm going to be asking you for referrals, as they're available. And what's interesting, it was very hard to do at the beginning, but with repetition, you get your script down packed. Before you know it, that conversation's very simple, and then you get to a point where when you make a call to a sold client once a month, hey man, you know what? You got to call this guy. It's my buddy. He wants a boat, right? And the same thing can be incorporated with travel, right? Your clients that are, if I sold and I don't know the number, but let's say I sold a vacation that was $20,000. Well, that client's probably got a lot of friends that are buying $20,000 vacations. It's okay. That to me is someone you prospect still, because at any given time he's going to have his buddies and he's going to talk about, oh my gosh, I did this awesome vacation. Uncle Bill was great and Carolyn was great. And before you know it, you just got 3 more bookings out of it just by doing the follow-up calls and just by sticking with the system that you create. I call every sold client once a month. Once a month, I touch every sold client. And what happens is that could turn into 5 to 10 touches, because I could get a sold client could go, hey, call this guy. And before you know it, the funnel, you start with one sold client and just continues to branch out down like a Christmas tree.
Do you find yourself having to constantly change the way you reach out to clients? I know for years I hated to pick up the phone. It was like, let's do as much as we can through email. But over the years, that has kind of changed, where I feel like everyone wants to talk on the phone. So you've mentioned time for emails, time for phone calls, newsletters. Do you find yourself constantly having to change it up, not just because maybe your message isn't getting across the right way, but because the client prefers one method over the other?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The emails used to be the go-to for me. They still are a big part of it, but a lot of it is texting and phone calls now. There's no denying text messaging is very, very popular. One of the things, and this also helps you bump your touches, is what I usually do is I'll email and text to get someone on a phone. So I'll text you, hey, I'm going to call you in 20 minutes, just letting you know. They'll respond usually, okay, great. Or, no, that time doesn't work. What about this time? So instead of just making the cold call, you're prepping them for the cold call, and then they're telling you, no, call me back at this time. Well, that's 2 touches right there. The text message and then the phone call when it happens. It's definitely interesting the times we're in right now, because emails, there's no denying everyone gets overwhelmed with emails. The biggest thing I would say is you have to understand your client and when the best time to reach them and how to reach them is. If you're a doctor, no luck getting them before, after 8:30 in the morning, 8:30 to 5, no way, right? You may get them at 7:30 in the morning, or you may get them at 6 at night, right? But certain professions, it's just, you just know their schedules and know what they do, and they fit into certain prospecting windows and communication windows.
So Jake, is there a different script that you've changed up your script, you said, over time? Is the script changing based on the product that you're recommending to them, or is the script changing based on the market, the economy, who Jacob Coyle is, who the customers are? How does that look to you?
Both. So the script changes. The script is one of those, let's just say I hit a roadblock, right? Which we all hit roadblocks in our business. The script is one of the first things I look to. I go, okay, how can I change the script? The example, I'm sold out of Sea Ray boats. Okay, so what do I have? What can I sell? Right? I can sell Boston whalers. Okay, so let's say you're sold out of Bahamas trips, but you can sell a Colorado ski trip. Okay, well, who booked Colorado ski trips in the past? You go for that list, and then you create a script to target that market. So it's, something simple. It's simple. It's, hey, Uncle Bill, I know you did a ski trip a couple years back. Just didn't know if that's something you still want to do. You say no. Okay, great. Do you know anyone that might want to? I'd love to be able to help them out. So you cater the script based on the clients, and it's product based, but it's also it's relatively simple and the same. Let's call it a template. The template stays the same. If you just switch out a couple words, and you can use that for a sold client's going to have a different script than a client that you're trying to sell something to. Because, go ahead.
It seems to me that most of the clients that you're trying to sell something to are referred clients, right? So there's at least an in there. There's some type of an in. Is there a difference? And maybe this is a two-part question. Over this past 10 months, I know that you ran into some roadblocks. The roadblocks weren't detrimental the way that the travel industry has been, but was there a different script for those that were potential new clients?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the biggest thing was we're very retail heavy in person, right? I mean, my showroom is massive. There's 80 boats in it. So it's to not have people be able to come in face to face is a challenge. So the script was very different. The script was, hey, I'm still here. There's still boats available. Here's what we have available. Here's places you can go with the boat if you want to purchase it. And here are things that you can do. So you focus, and this goes back into the 15 minutes every morning, learn something about your industry, learn something about something that is going to help you do what you do in your career. So I would every morning, 15 minutes for 3 months, what boats are available, what marinas are open, what cities are open, where are you able to, if you buy a boat tomorrow, where can you take your boat with your friends and your family and enjoy it?
See, Carolyn, isn't that right along the lines of what we've been talking about? Can't sell cruises, we sell all inclusives. We're selling ski trips, whatever it is. We've pivoted to this, and I think that he's giving us this guidance and direction about a similar situation that he's in with his market. And I love that he said he has to do the research on where can they take their boat, extending the idea of not just selling you a boat, but let's be inclusive on where that boat can go with you and the family in it.
So Jacob, we have a couple of questions, but first I want to ask you, everything you are saying to me is totally true, but also terrifying at the same time. At what point in your career did that, at what point did it stop becoming terrifying, where you had to really put yourself out there? And
he is a Coyle, don't forget.
So
and, I mean, the fear, it's not so much the fear of rejection. I don't know, like,
you're right there, Carolyn. You're nailing it. That's what everyone is thinking right now. That confidence, right? It's the confidence.
Like, at what point were you like, I got this? Like, you can say no, and I'm just going to brush it off because I'm going to call you in a month, and you might say yes then.
Yeah.
Yep. So that it's interesting. That fear is I don't want to call it fear. That is what keeps me going every day. Is the fact that I'm going to make 100 calls today, and 70 people are going to tell me, nope, not ready. Nope, not ready for this. The minute that goes away for me is the minute I stop becoming as successful, is the minute I stop trying to have improvements in my schedule, in my processes, in my scripts, in all of the above. That all triggers back to your purpose. So my purpose will not enable me to be complacent. My purpose is designed to continually move forward. Even when the brick wall is closing in on you, you have to find a way through the wall, around the wall, over the wall, under the wall, whatever it is. And I laugh because it's my wife asks me this. We have these conversations all the time. Very similar to that is, when did you know, or how do you continue to do it? I don't know. I just continue to do it because there is no stopping, right? It's this is the career. This is, sweetie, this is our purpose. We talked about this. This is how we're going to get to our purpose. This is my business plan. How to do it. It's definitely not easy. One of the things that I learned probably about 2-3 years ago from one of the higher ups, successful guys in my company, was you have to be okay. You have to know when to kind of risk it all to lose a deal. And there's been times in my career that I've lost deals, and that is a hard pill to swallow. It's very hard to go, I should have done this or that. At the end of the day, though, when you lose a deal, you're going to gain so much knowledge that you're probably not going to lose that deal again, or you're probably you're going to think 2 or 3 times ahead now. One of the big things in sales is a lot of people are in that reactive mode. So the purpose, your schedule, these processes, the scripts, that's all proactive, right? So if you have these proactive things, it's just a matter of fine tuning them to the times that are ahead, to your clients that you're in front of, even to your friends, right? It's a whole different way of thinking. And again, Carolyn, just to come back to your point, there's never a time that I'm like, I don't have this, if I don't have this, I got to figure it out.
Right.
You know, and Carolyn, just before you go on to the question from our agents, you made a point, Jake, last week when we spoke about one of your touches could be your mom or your brother. It doesn't necessarily have to be just a customer, right? It could be someone else that you're just reaching out to. And agents, we have fellow agents that you reach out to every day on Facebook, right? For whatever concern you have. You need an uplift, you need something, you need to bounce something off of someone, you need to talk about something other than the industry or the industry and talking on their level. And I think that was an important fact.
It absolutely is. When I first started, when I first got on this program that I'm on, as far as my, my purpose and all that, I used to struggle, be like, I'm at 92 touches. I need to get 8 more touches. What am I going to do? And I'd be like, my mom knows someone somewhere. So, hey, mom, you got someone that wants to buy a boat? Well, no, honey, I don't. Okay, but if you do, just let me know. Let me know. And the same thing with my brother or whoever, right? What you're doing is you're making the effort. You're not just throwing in the towel because you didn't get to that 100 touches. You're making the effort. And there's going to be a time that I call my mom and she's going to be like, you know what, son, I've got someone that wants to buy a boat, right? It may not be now, maybe 5 years from now, but it's going to happen eventually.
That is so awesome.
And it's always good to call your mom regardless.
It is. It is.
Des, do you have some questions for us?
Oh, yeah. We have a lot of great feedback coming in about sales overall, but one of the questions that we have here is, how do you focus on the numbers without losing your passion? Meaning, how not to come across to the client like you're pestering them, spread out the touch when you touch them.
Yeah,
kind of a long question.
Yep, great question. So when you're prospecting, cold calling, what you want to do is you've got to find something to get them engaged. So when I do my cold calling, I always have a purpose behind every cold call, every email that goes out, whether it's, hey, I've got an event next week, do you want to come? Or whatever it is. The passion really comes in. That's when you actually, maybe you'll get them on the phone or you get them responding to emails, things like that. That's when they're really going to see that your passion for travel or your passion for boating or hockey or whatever it is you're passionate about. The initial cold calling is what you have to do is you want to try to differentiate yourself from everyone else. So you have, for me, I work off an Evernote system. I probably have 150 templates. And for example, I have a big VIP event this Friday. Well, I copy and paste that and send it to Uncle Bill or send it to Carolyn. And I put Dear Carolyn and I put the invite in there. It looks like it's very personal. It looks like it's very genuine. But someone who's looking to buy a yacht, for example, that this VIP event is for, they're going to respond back if they want to come see it, right? Your goal is to get people engaged, and then you can show them your passion, right? Then you can really get to know them and quote unquote pick apart the layers so they begin to trust you.
Sorry, you go ahead, Carolyn.
I was going to say, the key word for me there was genuine. Is when you're doing, sales, I think, so much. The key is finding that piece that's genuine. So in your email, it's saying happy anniversary, or how are the kids doing, or is mom feeling okay? Because you know that she's been ill. Something like that shows, yeah, there's another purpose to my email, but first I want to know, how are you doing? Because I genuinely want to know.
And Carolyn, it's funny you say the birthday thing, and sorry, Uncle Bill, but one of the first things I do when I sell a boat to someone, their birthday goes in my calendar. They get a notice on their birthday from me. Hey, happy birthday. Do you need anything? Nope. Just want to wish you guys a happy birthday.
Absolutely.
Right. So again, that's a touch, and it's a genuine touch. They don't need to know that it's automated, right? They don't need to know that I have a system that does it. It doesn't matter. It's the thought that, hey, I want to make sure that Carolyn gets a note from me, whether it's an email, text message, phone call, whatever, when their birthday comes up.
And isn't there also the word that you said was event? Jake, you happen to have an event this coming Friday. Well, that's a big event. You're having boats, you're having people. We have events every day, folks. We have Carnival Cruise Line has an event coming up. That's a promotion. Cunard has a VIP sale that's coming up. We're just checking in to see if you're interested in this VIP sale or this exclusive discount or onboard credit. You know, anything that's going on in our industry is an event, and that's really the purpose of the call, right? That is to say there's an event coming up. It's not physical. It's just that we have an event coming up. I was thinking that it might be good for you.
It's funny you say that, because we did virtual cocktails for about 9 months. Did virtual cocktail parties. I created an event for them. They have no idea that it wasn't a Mixmax. You know, I created an event. I got my clients on a Zoom call, right? The second Friday of every month. We're all drinking, right? None of us on our boats. We're just drinking because we couldn't all get together for X amount of months. The event is the easy part. It's creating the event. And the event it can be something small, it can be something huge, but it gives you a reason, it gives you a purpose to reach out to someone.
Yes.
If there is an event, it doesn't have to be a huge boat show or a huge travel show or whatever. It can be something as small as I don't know, you mentioned something, I don't know, in-store credit or whatever it is, right? Spin that any way you want it. An event's an event, and it's all about the individual to make the excitement for the event in a genuine email or in a genuine phone call.
Des, anything else?
We do have lots of great questions here, and I'm trying to respond as I know the answers to. But one question that I do want to ask to Jacob here is, have you ever used the white pages to generate clients? And furthermore, if you want to talk about any other suggestions that you have for finding new people, that would be great.
Yep, I have not used the white pages. I'm sure it may or may not work. That's one I haven't, but I'm going to make a note here because maybe that's something I should use. Finding new clients is always the hardest thing. This ties back to knowing your audience. So for me, I'm passionate about boating, so I tend to hang out where boaters hang out. I tend to go to restaurants that boaters will go to. I tend to go to events that they'll go to. I'm in a variety of different social media groups that are boating oriented. So a lot of me just being me helps me get clients. I will tell you, one of the things that I rely heavily on for more clients are my sold customers. My sold clients are huge. They're 65 to 75% of my business is what I would call repeat and referral business, which are repeat clients that have already bought a boat, and then their referrals coming into me. One of the things that I do here, and I'm not sure how your guys' systems work, Carolyn and Uncle Bill, but when there's a database and there's a giant unassigned database, for example. So someone who's bought a boat from us, but maybe the guy who sold it or the girl who sold it is no longer there. Well, those are people that I would reach out to, right? Those are people that, hey, Jimmy bought a boat 5 years ago, but the guy who sold him to the girl's not here anymore. Let me reach out to him, right? If they booked a travel 5 years ago, right? And I'm going to say a ski trip again because it's something you can do right now. But if there's a ski trip that was booked 5-10 years ago, that, right, there's got to be those numbers have to be somewhere. You give them a call, right?
Yep.
Go there. It's
when we were young, we went through the white pages, Jake. My gosh, just think about your dad and all the business that he did in the printing world. And the people that he had to contact, he would go through that phone book and just randomly call people and say, you need any printing? So that idea of the white pages is still out there, right? I don't think people use it as much as they do, whether you buy a list from someone or whatever the case, but I'll never forget one day, Aunt Cam and I worked together for a long time, and your mom was with us in the travel agency as well. We had documents ready for a client, and documents were always a pack that you would either have them come and pick up or drop off or mail out to them. So we left a voicemail for a client, a voicemail on their, what did you call those, answering machine. And so we left a voicemail, and they called back and says, you've got the wrong number, but ironically, we are looking for a trip right now. So I had an agent every single week just randomly calling and leaving voicemails with people telling their documents were in.
Yep.
For a little while.
Well, it's funny too, because we tie kind of how to get business in. It's the I'm your guy or I'm your girl mentality as well.
Yes.
One of the
Yes.
things that I just did for the first time was I just got, and don't laugh, I got 10,000 of the Valpak ads printed. I got printed ones, and every restaurant that I go to on where I live, there's a stack there. Every gas station that I'm allowed to, there's a stack there, right? It's got my picture on it. It says your local boating guy, right? So they're scattered all over the city, right? Small investment. I mean, it was not very expensive at all. But those are things that, especially now, people aren't going out as much. However, when they do go out, that could be something that, oh, wow, look at this, right? One of the things I've noticed going out now, as opposed to, let's call it pre-COVID, is you're way more observant about things.
Yes.
So you're going to notice things. So for me, the timing was perfect. All right, let me get these paper ads out that say I'm the boating guy. And I've had them out for probably 2 or 3 weeks. I've probably gotten 3 or 4 calls already. So again, is that ideal? I don't know. I mean, it seems to be doing okay for right now. But you always have to be trying to strike up more business. And again, there's a whole bunch of different avenues to do it. I always joke it's like a bicycle, right? And there's different spokes. And in order to keep the bicycle, right, from not being flat and not hitting speed bumps, right, all the spokes got to be even, but you have to understand where each spoke is. Okay, are these going to be corporate referrals? Are these going to be referrals from my mom? Are these going to be referrals from the internet? Are these going to be this? So you have to understand the whole picture. And whenever one area is smaller, then you figure out how to engage that area a little bit stronger.
And we do have to take into consideration, Carolyn, that we have some agents that have full-time jobs or part-time jobs. So they have to adjust their schedule for that. And how does that look to them? Maybe it is 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe it's 7 p.m. at night. But I love your idea, Jake. And I know that you have a business coach. You've used a business coach. You continue to use a business coach. And that coach has helped you really understand purpose and goals. And I think that now, you probably don't need the business coach, but you keep the business coach just to keep you in tune with and on track. And I think that that's what we do for each other as agents, right? You've got your folks at KHM, you've got each other out there in the market. Keep each other in tune with what you're doing. Reach out to other agents on a daily basis or a weekly basis saying, how are you doing? Don't wait for the post on Facebook. How are you doing? What's going on? Can you give me any hints? Can I give you any hints? Start those networking calls. I think that they're important.
You guys, this has been such a fantastic conversation. And Jacob, I have to tell you that I am a person that opens up the value pack when it comes in the mail, and I go through every single one of them, and I do save the things that I'm going to go back to. I actually do. So, I think it's a very good idea. Thank you both for being here. This has been fantastic. Agents, we're going to continue to go through your questions, and we might just have to have you back so we can finish up this conversation, but absolutely fantastic. Thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, guys. Oh my gosh, I feel like we could talk for days. So that was just fantastic. You guys, next up, we know that a lot of you or some of you have had to transition your businesses from a full-time to a part-time basis due to the last, 11 months that we've been dealing with COVID. And this absolutely can be done, and it can be done with success. And Matt is here to give us some tips for helping us to do this in the best way possible. Hi, Matt. Well, hello from Puerto Vallarta, right?
Yep, I'm still here. A few more weeks.
How many more weeks?
KHM family.
How many more weeks are you there?
I guess 3. I leave February 27th. I fly out.
Okay, great. So you've got 5 tips for working your business on a part-time basis. And these are tips for even if you're working on a full-time basis. I think these are great. Our first one.
Yeah, we got 5 tips in 5 minutes, so hold on to your seats. If you're not careful, you might just miss them. So the first one is email automation software. When I first got started as a travel advisor, I did have a full-time job. And after a year or 2, I realized that most of my time, or at least half of my time, was spent just following up with clients to get that last bit of information to complete their booking, or following up with suppliers who I have questions for and I need answers and they're not replying to my email. So I found this very cool program called Mixmax. It has a full suite of features, but I'm just going to talk about one because this is the one feature which caused me to implement the program into my workspace, and it is called sequences. Sequences allow you to pre-set up a set of emails that you can use over and over and over again for different clients, but for, say, a generic purpose, just for following up. So what I do is when I need to follow up with the client, I attach this sequence to them, and then the system automatically follows up with them until I tell the system to stop or until the client replies back to me. So it's a really cool program. The best thing about it is they think that I'm personally writing the messages. They don't know it's automated.
Awesome.
So,
and that speaks clearly to what Jacob just said as well.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a good segue. And like I said, they've got a lot of different features. There's lots of different other programs as well besides Mixmax. That's just the one I use. But do your research, take a look, and you can cut your productivity probably in half or increase it by half.
Great. Our next one, you suggest hire a virtual assistant.
Hire a virtual assistant. So there's lots of different virtual assistant agencies out there that you can choose from. I choose one because I don't need like a full-time virtual assistant, right? So I use TaskBullet. TaskBullet is cool and unique because they allow you to buy a bucket of hours. So I purchase a bucket of 60 hours at a time that I can use over the course of several months for one low hourly rate. I get several virtual assistants. They assign me a project manager who I give all my tasks to, and then she finds someone who's an expert in that task. So now I've got one person managing updates to my website. I've got another person managing all my social media. I have another person managing all of my data stuff. I like to update my database and do different things with data. So they help me with that. For example, you might ask them to find all restaurants of a certain caliber in your area, their email address, who's the owner, right? So then you can contact them and say, hey, I know times are tough. It's tough for me too. Let's partner and see how we can work together to promote each other. That's one thing I did. But hire a virtual assistant. It's going to free up a lot of your capacity. And you can also use them to do things that you don't know how to do or things that you just don't like to do.
I love it. Social media automation. This is a tough one for a lot of us to get on a good schedule that makes sense and is effective.
So, and same for me. When I first started, I'd have a burst of social media inspiration and I'd start posting. And then a couple of weeks would go by and I wouldn't post anything. And really the key is you need to be consistent. And so what I did was I got this social media automation software. It's called eClincher. There are other ones out there. Hootsuite is a popular one. So do your research, find one that works for you again. But what it allows you to do is manage all your social media pages in one place. So I've got my Facebook, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my YouTube, whatever, Google My Business. I can pre-schedule. This is the number one thing why this is important, is you can pre-schedule all your posts for the next 6 months if you like. So what I do is I set aside 2 hours every 6 months to pre-schedule all my posts. So then I don't have to worry about it. But actually, I kind of lied there. I don't do that. I give it to my virtual assistant to do that for me. And then every week, I spend 15 minutes just checking next week's posts to make sure they're still relevant, make sure I like them. Ones I don't like, I'll delete them, and other ones will still go. I still got lots of posts on my social media, so it's a win-win.
Great. And then something that's not so tech-oriented, or I guess it could be, if you decide to use an app as a checklist.
Excel or something, but it doesn't have to be. What I did is I created a checklist. It's a 28-point checklist. This is something I did because I got nervous about maybe dropping the ball. I was busy at work in my day job. Maybe I forgot to do this thing or forgot to do that thing for a client. So I created this checklist. Again, it has 28 points on it, and it helps me ensure that I've been helping ensure that I've given my clients the best experience. I've checked everything. Where are their seats on the plane? Where are they on the ship? Et cetera, et cetera. There's 28 points on there. And maybe 2 weeks before, I can check the checklist and see what I've done, what I haven't done, and feel a good peace of mind if everything's complete. And if it's not, then I've got an opportunity to go in and make sure I fill in all those gaps.
And just as a reminder to agents, there is both a land and a cruise checklist in the portal that was created for you during virtual EDU. So those are both accessible to you.
Which is
And then
perfect.
finally,
Now you don't even have to create the checklist. You just need to print it out if you like to print. If you don't like to print, I think you can use it digitally as well, right?
Yes, I think you're correct. So then you say choose clients wisely.
So choose clients wisely. This one's a tough one because the reverse is also true. Let go of your clients wisely as well. You want to be careful with this one. But some clients run you ragged, so you might need to let them go. Other clients, you know, they're great, but maybe they're a little fickle and they're coming to you today and they just want to spend 2 nights in Vegas. I don't have time to research 2 nights in Vegas for a client that's fickle and is going to have me going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for different options. So for them, you could say, hey, when you have a cruise or a detailed itinerary you want to plan, I'm here for you. If you just want 2 nights in Vegas, well, I suggest these properties. I'm going to let you go ahead and book those on your own. The other way to look at this is clients that you know maybe haven't treated you the best in the past, and maybe it's time to let them go just for peace of mind. What are your thoughts on this one, Caroline? I know you have some ideas.
You know, I think it's great. I mean, we never want to let go of a client, but I think choosing your clients wisely, but also at this point in time, letting them know your abilities or that you can't be available for them right now. But so being honest about where your business is and that you can't be available from 9 to 5 because you're at another job. But if they're okay working with you in the evenings and on weekends, then that's great. And just not biting off more than you can chew. It's okay. And we have had agents do it and do it really, really well. And sometimes they even define their business so much that it's more successful because they're truly selling what they love instead of, you know, everything under the sun. So Matt, these are great tips. Agents, if you have something that you specifically want to know about as far as anything on here, we're going to circle back to this because we know it's a lot of information, but I think this is a really great place to start. It's encouraging and positive because you can run a part-time travel business. There are just ways to go about it to make sure that you're successful. So Matt, thank you so much for being here.
All right, thank you.
All right, so topic of the week, I feel like resolving client issues. And we're gonna bring Bill back to the screen because he is so fantastic at doing this. Bill, we are in a time period, we've always, as agents, needed to be this person who is a jack of all trades, right? But we have to be knowledgeable and have the ability to also resolve client issues kind of on the fly. And we're seeing that now more than ever as different things are thrown at us. And as Jacob said, right, you're trudging along and boom, hit a wall and you turn to the left and boom. And you constantly have to kind of be weaving through that path. So what are some of the things that regardless of time of year or COVID, not COVID, that are consistent when it comes to resolving client issues? There's some things that just never change.
Yeah, you know, you're right, Carolyn. And first of all, I want to say that I'm not a wizard. I'm not working magic. I'm really just managing to work through what the issue is, right? So I feel like with my experience and the fact that we did this as Encompass the World Travel for years, it was a situation where something was wrong, right? Something was wrong with your clients, with my clients, my sister's clients, our agency's clients in destination, and something had to be done about it. And I'll never forget back in the day, even if I had clients traveling and I would get a message from them, it typically wasn't a text, it was an email or a call or something frantic. Nothing was free back in the day. Remember, we were paying so much for those calls. And I would get a hold of Cammie and say, there's a problem. And Cammie would boom, 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 it's fixed. And I'm like, oh my God, you worked magic. How did you do that? And then I started to listen to what her process was. So as an example of something, I remember there was a situation with an agent last year whose clients were booked, and then a couple of the nights they were told when they got to the resort they didn't have the room category that they paid for, and it was like, all right, we need to work this out, right? They're struggling to get this worked out. The tour company is no longer involved, the airlines is no longer involved, it's our client standing at the front desk, the concierge desk, or something's going on in resort. So first of all, I don't want you to feel like you can't reach out to us, but I want to try to give our agents, Carolyn, the confidence to be able to maneuver that situation on their own, right? What does that look like? And it doesn't mean that I don't want you to call us, because we're always available, right? I'm available to you. I've been available to you in particular over the last year, but since I've started at KHM. And it's really just this, it's not magic. It's not anything that happens that's that I'm shifting our weight around, or I'm getting a hold of the president. I'm just making this work. So the first step is just get the last name. You know, I will ask the agent for the last name and the resort that they're at and the number of days that they're there, when they checked in, when they're scheduled to check out. And I literally just call that resort, honestly. And when I call the resort, the first question I'm asking is, do you speak English, right? So no matter where it is, and you have to remember that if we're calling the Mexico resort, you're calling the country code 011, then 52, which is the country code, then the city code, then the number. So that's important that you keep those in your phone. I know most of you agents have those numbers in your phones, and that's great. Sometimes you write them down and you don't always have them with you, but you can Google it. If that number is not working, what do? And that's another step, right? I'm always going the extra step to say, just because that number is not working or it's not the right number, we're reaching out to someone that we know in that destination. Think of all the friends that I've developed over the years. You guys have friends, you have drivers, you have people that you can just reach out to, whether you text them or call them and just say, hey, I need help with this. Can you give me a number? Can you give me a contact? Can you be there if I need you? Which is always a great thing, right? And you always want to be respectful to them. So you contact the resort. Do you speak English? Maybe they don't speak English. They're going to put someone that speaks English. I'm Bill Coyle with KHM Travel, or a travel agency in the USA. It may not be important to say the name of the agency because they don't know who KHM is. They don't know who Susie's Travel is. You just want to get to the crux of the problem, right? So you have to be friendly and you have to be honest with them. And I always find being totally honest with them is the best way, because they know what's going on, right? They know what's happening. They may have already spoke to the client. They may already have some inkling as to what's happening. And then you start to work through that process, right? You're honest with them, you're getting their name, and you're starting to work through that process. How can we make this right? How can we make this better? If it's not immediate, which our clients are always demanding, right? They're like, I want this done now. And you're frantic, you're freaking out like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And the tour company's a 3-hour hold and you're freaking out, and like there's text coming back and forth. The situation has got to be resolved, but we have to be honest with each other that it's probably not going to be resolved right now. Sometimes Mexicans are on siesta time, for crying out loud, and you don't know when they're going to get to this issue, or how many avenues do they have to go through to get to the point where they can truly help you. So if you're not getting anywhere, it's manager on duty, it's general manager, but it's not. I'll be honest with you, I rarely, if ever, reach out to the BDM. What is the BDM going to do? They're going to do the same thing Bill Coyle's doing, the same thing that Susie Smith's going to do. They're contacting the resort. They're getting a hold of someone that they know to logically make this thing work, right? So let's just use an example of a call last week when it was like, we needed the COVID test done in order for the client to get on the transfer to go back to the airport, right? So it was begging them to get the test back in time, right? Do whatever you have to get that test back in time. And it magically worked, right? It's amazing. What are we going to do if it doesn't get back in time? What are we going to do if they don't have that room category? Here's one of the solutions that happens. And it's always a 9 a.m. meeting, right? So if something's going on at 11 p.m. or midnight or 8 p.m. and a resolution is not happening, we always have the 9 a.m. meeting. That's with the local DMC, the hotel personnel, and the client. They're all going to be together to get a resolution happening. It's going to be in the morning. So if their room is unsuitable, they're going to have to figure out that they can stay in that room or get another room until tomorrow morning when we can get that resolved. So it's this whole process that goes on, but it's really not a big magical thing. And it really is just that idea that says, and it's confidence and it's comfort, and it's really just, it's talking through the process. A lot of times when an agent calls me and they're frantic at 11 o'clock at night, once I speak to them and speak through the process, they're feeling better already. They just want to have someone hear them out who knows and understands what the problem is and what the possibility for resolution is. And I'm not saying it's always going to be the same resolution. But we can work through this together, right? We can make it happen. It's calming them down. I'll never forget, a few years ago, we had a bride and a groom at Sandals Ochi, and the bride called and insisted that there was blood on the ceiling of this resort room that she was in, right? One of the top of the line resort rooms. I spoke to the general manager. He went down to the room. They talked about it, showed her all this stuff. There was no blood on the ceiling. As a matter of fact, it turned out to be that she was so upset that she left her son at home because she had just gotten married, and this was the first time leaving her son at home, that she wanted to come home, right? So she's using every excuse. So we had to get to the crux of the problem, right? And ironically, I saw them a few months afterwards, and she just apologized up and down. And it's because of the tone that I used with her, speaking to her, to get her to settle down. There's just so many different things. And you guys know it's part of our job is psychology, right? It's that idea that says, what's really the problem here? And how do we really get this fixed? Who can we use to get it fixed? But let me just say, if nothing's getting fixed, if nothing's happening, don't hesitate to reach out. We're going to use our resources in that destination to make that work. And let me tell you what one of those resources is. And I don't know if Lisa Person's on the call, but I was on my way to Mexico a month ago or 2 months ago, and I'm sitting next to this guy from Georgia. I had flown to Atlanta. He gets on the plane and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go stay with a buddy down in Tulum." You know, everyone's talking about Tulum, right, Carolyn? It's like the hottest place in the world. We've been going to Tulum for 20 years, and it's a one-horse town, for God's sakes, but everyone all of a sudden is going to Tulum because there was a podcast about it. So I said, "Oh, really? Where are you staying?" With a buddy. He's telling me this. I'm like, "This guy's a lunatic." And I'm like, "How you getting there?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just going to take a shuttle probably." I'm like, "You know, it's 2 hours away from the airport, right?" He had no idea. He didn't know anything. He just booked a trip to go down there because he'd just broken up with his girlfriend. So I get a hold of Lisa. I'm like, "Lisa, who was the name of that driver that you said that you had?" She tells me it's Laylo. And I'm like, "Laylo? I've known Laylo for 10 years. I'm like, "How do you have Laylo's number?" And she says, "Laylo is my bailout guy," right? So we share these things. I get a hold of Laylo. He has a driver show up at the airport. And the next thing you know, I happen to be walking out at the same time this kid from Atlanta's walking out, and he's got a name. He's already, this took 15 minutes. He's got a name placard with his name on it. And this guy feels like he's the King Tut. You know, he's like, I'm walking around like, paid him his money. It was a done deal. So it's really that idea that says, keep a hold of your contacts. I know many of you agents have drivers in Jamaica and the Dominican, and those drivers ultimately could help you, right? They could be the ones to help you, because in the last case that we had, if there was a need for these clients to get to the airport because their shuttle would have left, we had a driver lined up to take them there. It's the perception that we as travel agents are doing whatever we can to help our clients. And there's times when really our clients need more help than we can give them, in all honesty. And we have to learn to understand where the cutoff point in the conversation is. And I think that becomes really, really important. And that's an honest conversation that we have to have as well. So I'm sorry to be so long in this, Carolyn, but it's not just a simple solution, but it's really using your experience, your knowledge, your history, your level of comfort in the conversation with those people on the line, whether you're speaking to the resort and being honest with them, or the customer. I will never speak to your customer unless you give me permission to speak to your customer, because that's not necessary. Really, I'm trying to deliver the message back to you, who's going to deliver the message to them, and having the name of the person. I always say, go see Jose at the desk. He's waiting for you, you know, whatever that case is, or there's some gal at the front desk who's waiting for you. Make sure an incident report is filled out if it's an incident with broken glass or an injury. And then it becomes like, if there's an injury and we've got to get them back, do you have a medical staff that's going to get there? Are you using the resort medical staff? Have you arranged a flight for them? So there's a lot of different variations, but we can almost do a whole class on this, Carolyn, on how it goes. But there's really no magic sauce. I appreciate all the love that I get from you when a problem is resolved. And I think it's more that you just felt comfortable that someone listened to you, heard you, and is now reacting on your behalf. But it's really just that idea that this phone for me is magic, right? It's that idea that says, I'm calling directly to them. There's no charge. We all have international calling plans. There's never a charge. I'm not paying a fortune to do that. And I'm going to get a hold of someone. I'm going to write down the name, and I'm going to make this thing work for you. And I think that's, I know that there's more to it, I guess, but not as much as what I'm delivering here and telling you right now.
Yeah. So I think I heard you say a lot of things, but two really key pieces was, number one, make sure your clients know that you are there and willing to help. and that they know that they should call you should they have any issues when they're in country or in destination. And number two, as an agent, be prepared. So have in your phone those during travel numbers for a supplier. Have the hotel numbers in your phone ready to go. I know one of the things I always do is make sure that in my notes and my phone, if I'm leaving the house and I've got clients traveling, and not even leaving just to go to dinner, if I know clients are traveling, I put their confirmation number, during travel numbers in my phone, and the hotel direct number in my phone. Because if I'm out somewhere, I can make those phone calls and I'm not stressed out and worried about how do I reach someone. That is like 50% of the anxiety that comes from all this is feeling like you're not prepared. And believe it or not, you are. You are, and you can be even better prepared by just doing a few of those things to set yourself up. Because like anything, right? If you set yourself up to take these phone calls, they'll never come, right? It's when when you feel like you're not prepared is when they will come. So thank you, Bill. You guys, again, this is a big topic. We'll continue to circle back.
Let's continue the conversation. I wanted to say, Carolyn, there's one thing that I say to clients when they're leaving. I say, don't call me if your bed is not made. Call me if you don't have a bed. You know, you've got to set that parameter for what really is the best reason to contact my travel agent back there that I can't take care of while I'm here, right? And if that's one of them and they're panicking, and how much kit gloves do we give our clients, right? I think that's got to be a thought process. And the more honest we are up front, the better off the trip's going to be, because they're going to understand exactly what they could expect. And I think that's something that we should continue on, though, Carolyn. I'd love to just keep a whole dialogue on this conversation going.
Absolutely, absolutely. And maybe it's a class for virtual EDU in the spring, right?
Yes.
Right. Thanks, Bill, so much.
You're welcome.
You guys, thanks for hanging with us today. I know we're getting past our time, but as you remember at the beginning of the show, February is our month of love and positivity. So for KHM at Home, I bring to you an easy craft that can also double as a social media message. So thanks to Made in a Day for the idea. I bring you this wonderful globe that I have taken from my daughter's room. I got to get it right. And I have used stickers from Target that I found. It says, "You mean the world to me." I'm having a hard time with the camera here. And then you put little heart stickers on this, and you can put this in someone's room. You can take a picture and post it to social media. So it's a fun little craft. This is about as crafty as I get, guys. But I just wanted to share that with all of you, and you'll be seeing that on my social media in the next couple of days. The video that I created for this is in the travel agent portal under the KHM Today page. Thank you all for being here today. Please join me next week where we are going to welcome Gary Murphy, who is Senior Vice President and co-owner of AMA Waterways. We're going to have a fantastic communication about the importance of industry partnerships, communication with clients, and of course, the pivots they have made to their business in the last 11 months. So be sure to, I can't wait to see you all then. Be sure to take the time this week to do something just for you. Have a great rest of the week.